Hey besties, it's Tina,
Karen, and Jules here.
Tools down, time to chat work, life, well-being, and relationships. You're listening to
Let's Take It Offline.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Let's Take It Offline podcast. Before we get started, just remember to subscribe and rate our show and leave us some comments. We would love to hear from our listeners, and ideally 5 stars. So let's kick off. This week's been quite interesting, and our episode is going to be centered around 20 lessons from my 20s because I just turned.
You are 30.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Finally. She's joined the club.
Karen is finally on the other side of the decade.
How
The
does
baby's
it feel?
growing up.
Yeah. How does it feel?
You know what? Like 2 days beforehand or a week beforehand, I was actually feeling a tad sad or depressed because I was waving goodbye to like my 20s, and I think that like a lot of what I thought, where I thought I was gonna be, is when I was like, let's say 21, is not where I am right now. So I was a bit sad, but I wouldn't change anything really. So that's why when I was reflecting back, I thought it would be good for us collectively to record an episode about lessons from our 20s and share it with our listeners. So I was in a bit of a reflective mood.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to really think about it because my
It's
20s
been a
was
while.
so long ago.
It's been a while for Julie.
I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, I have to think about what was I doing?
Down the
Yeah.
memory lane.
Yeah, the ironic thing is because I was like feeling stressed, I was talking to several of like my friends, and like both of you included, and everyone told me that it's always better in your 30s. The ironic thing is everyone that told me that was over 30.
Well, because how can you give that advice unless you've been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
And you've lived a life, so
Hey, it's
Kind of
dirty
trust.
30s for a reason.
Yeah. What did they?
dirty, flirty, and thriving.
Yes. That's
yes.
yeah.
That's
And-
what Karen is right now.
Yeah, that's the vibe. But also, like they say that your 30s are your 20s with more money. So
Hopefully a little bit wiser. Hopefully.
yeah, more
maybe
fiscally
not.
responsible.
Yeah.
I think you just make better choices when you're in your 30s, because if you look back, and probably this is a good task for me, is I look back at my 20s and I just made some pretty terrible choices. I just did it. I was like, I'm young, I can do whatever I want. Whereas now, more responsibility. You can't
Yeah.
just go on a 6-month holiday if you want. You know, you got to think about bills and
Your pets.
my pets
you
and
can.
partner.
It's different for everyone, I think. You know.
It is, but you know, because I've got a partner as well.
Yeah.
I have to consider everything before making any changes or making any drastic decision.
Yeah.
Whereas in my 20s, it was like, stuff this boyfriend, I'm going, see ya.
Yeah, true. And also, like, parents and family are getting older as well, and you
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
want to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that's exactly how I've been reflecting on my 20s, and I've bucketed into like these 5 categories. So it's
Yeah.
like personal as as an individual, career-wise, financials, love, and relationships. And relationships beyond just like with like a partner, but relationships with friends and family, etc.
Yeah.
So that's me in terms of being reflective this week. What about you, Jules?
You've heard it from me, obviously, outside of this podcast. I've just been hammered with like #adulting. I've had to find a new house, which if anyone is renting at the moment in Sydney, you know that it's completely chaos out there at the moment because of interest rates, hiking, and, you know, people are also kind of moving back into the city as well because, you know, like...
And international...
That's right. International
people coming
travel's
back in,
back,
yeah.
students are back. So if you're looking for a rental, it is really tough. Like there's queues, 100 people at like these rentals. So you got to really get your foot in the door one way or another.
Yeah.
On top of that, my partner and I were doing embryo freezing.
Oh, yes.
As well. So
Yeah.
my hormones were like completely heightened. And then
How crazy is that? This is like for our listeners, this has happened since the recording of our episode with Dr. Tierney
Yeah.
as
Yes.
well. So Jules has gone on that journey and made it real.
yeah, so it's pretty full on. But you know, in terms of like, we can probably do another episode.
Yeah, we
in
might have
terms
to do a
of-
check-in
Yeah.
with Dr. Tierney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then there was like I've got a couple of changes in my career, so it's all happening. So I've just I feel like I've now emerged.
Literally, you're like you're a full adult.
Yeah, proper
No.
adulting. How
Yeah.
fitting for what
Yeah.
we will discuss today.
Yeah.
So that was pretty stressful because it all happened at the same time. But now I'm chilling out and back to my normal self, which is good. But what about you, Tina?
It has been a roller coaster, if I can even say that. Started the new year with new customers at work, you know, some changes at work that I would all try to work through. And then this month's been really big because I had 2 massive birthday parties. Not like crazy massive, but yeah, well,
I sadly missed her birthday party, but I heard all about it.
yeah. Well, to the point that now I need a few weekends of no drinking, I feel. Just to like get all of the toxic, you know, alcohol and everything, all the gunk out of my body.
Yeah.
You should have had a green detox juice this morning and not a coffee.
Yeah, but
I saw a different side to Tina
Did
that I've
you?
never seen before, and I have done things for her that
Oh,
I've
wow.
never done before.
You have to wipe.
no, ew. Can you not? Okay, too much. TMI. But then, yeah, and then on top of all of that, I recently stopped seeing someone I was seeing for 5 months as well, which is like the longest I've been with someone since my last partner. And yeah, so there's a lot of lessons I'm trying to learn out of that, and like working through the emotional aspects of it, and also like the aftermath of you know, decoupling from someone. So yeah, it's been a full-on journey.
Yeah,
But lots to, you know, reflect on, and so hopefully some of that I'll channel into today's episode. Yeah.
I think a lot of these lessons are quite relevant both in the 20s, but then apply differently in your 30s.
In life,
in life,
general.
and probably in your 40s too. And then
I feel like we can do like another segment around lessons in your 30s.
30 lessons from your 30s. Wow, that'll be a long episode. All right. But yeah, so I'll kick it off with the first one, and on a personal level. This one is probably the biggest learning for me. Number 1, and that is invest in yourself and learn to love yourself. That is one of the biggest things that I've learned in my 20s. And I think oftentimes, like, if you're really focused on sometimes maybe people pleasing or focused on those around you, developing relationships, that you often neglect yourself. And that's one of the biggest things that I have learned in my 20s. And I actually really only started learning this in my mid 20s, where I had some fantastic friends that actually taught me like that I needed to take time out firstly for the most basic things, like like treating myself to a massage or getting a facial done, like looking after myself, both sleep, exercising properly, nutrition, like learning about all those things, but also treating myself as well. So now, like, I buy myself a gift on my birthday. Like, I don't need someone to buy me a present on my birthday. That is lovely. Like that, I love gifts and presents, but like that is something that I do for myself now. And also, like when I have a big milestone, such as like if I score my dream job, I'll buy myself a new, I don't know, handbag to celebrate that. Or a thing that I love to do is I love to buy myself something with my first paycheck in a new job. And those are the things. And I think if you really learn to love yourself, you build a lot more confidence in who you are. You get to know yourself a lot better. Yeah.
I feel like I do that because I just shop and buy stuff.
But you know what? I think there's a lot of truth in that, because we celebrate people so often, right? Like in your 20s and 30s, like you celebrate friends' weddings, baby showers, housewarmings, but maybe you don't celebrate yourself enough.
Yeah.
Like, you know, your own milestones might not be like getting married or anything like that, but yeah, like if you did a really good job on some projects at work, or if you like, you know, like started a podcast together with your friends, like you need to celebrate yourselves a lot more often, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing is like, yeah, it could be material things, you know, especially if you like gifts and shopping, but it could also be like investing time in yourself in terms of drawing boundaries as well. Being okay with saying, I'm going to actually spend Friday night on the beach and ordering takeout to put on my favorite movie or something, or to listen to a podcast or read a book. Like that type is actually really important, and learning how to be alone with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a good segue in terms of thinking about the time you need to put in. And I know, Karen, we've spoken about this in other episodes on dating, actually. How do I make time to date? But this is essentially dating yourself.
Yes.
How do I make time for me to do things I love doing? Whether that's being active, whether that's walking along the beach, whether that's getting a massage, that's all me time.
Yes.
Right?
And if you think about like saying, I think there's a lot of talks about learning to love yourself recently, and I think it's the same as loving someone. You have to listen to them. You have to understand what makes them happy and fulfilled. And so I think a lot of it is listening to your own intuition and your guts as to what is good for you, what you like, what you don't like. You know, in your 20s, I think it's very easy to kind of follow the group, or, you know, what other people do or think or want. But in your 30s, I think you start to see patterns as to what actually make you happy.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Which, you know, maybe is an interesting, you know, transition to point number 2, which is time is limited. And so you need to make sure that you try things and experiment as much as you can. And I think it's safe to say that within the 3 of us, like we have done a bunch of stuff in our 20s. But, you know, looking back, I don't think I can say it, like any of us would say we regretted anything. If anything, it would be like take more risk and even do crazier things, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy if I look back and reminisce and go down the rabbit hole of doing that. Would I, if I had my time again, would I change a few things? Sure. But there's nothing that I regret in terms of decisions. I'm glad I did it. I learnt something from it, and I'm able to take it away into my 30s and apply it elsewhere. I mean, probably the one thing I regret is taking too many credit cards, but
we'll get to
we'll
that.
We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah. I think that someone actually recently said to me that like time is finite, and when I think back on my younger 20s, like I've actually been doing more things in my later 20s than when I did it when I was younger, and I don't have any regrets. It's only just that I wish I'd started them earlier, or I wish I did that sooner.
Yeah.
Especially like Tina, you made a good point. Like if it's in your head for a while, like don't let it pass you by.
Yeah.
And that is something that I kind of, maybe when I was younger and less like confident, it'd be like, okay, I need all these building blocks to fall into place before I do X.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure because I don't have a financial base to like fall back on. I think all of those is like, it will just be like, especially when I didn't have a financial base, I would be like, okay, I can't do that yet, because like, what if I fail? Then I have like, I don't have the privilege and the money to like support me to like recover. And that's what held me back in a couple of things. So that is something that I would tell my younger self to like not be afraid of. Like that is, money will always come. Like eventually, like you can work at McDonald's and get money, like if that's how you want, like if you really need to hustle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that was the main thing. Like, I wish I did things earlier, because time is finite.
The other thing that kind of stems from this is to not conform to what society deems as what you should or shouldn't have achieved. A lot of us think, okay, I need to go and get a job, I need to have stability, I need to buy a house, I need to find a husband. And it's like, you can do whatever you want because time is limited. Sometimes people are one day here, gone the next.
Yeah.
Take risks, do what you want to do, and just be happy.
Yeah. And don't let anyone, like your parents, your extended family, your boss, your friends, to tell you what you should and shouldn't do.
100%.
And I think only you would know what will make you happy, because if you can, it's very easy to fall into that trap of doing everything exactly how people would do. Like you get a university degree, you get a job, you get stable, you find a partner, you get married, you have kids. But we're all very different, right, as individuals. So how can we all follow the same path and be happy?
Yeah.
And so maybe your path in life is not to be married with kids at the age of 29. Maybe your path in life is actually to move overseas, experience Europe with, your best friends. And, there's always time and place, I think. If you truly, really want something, you can make it happen. I think when I read that quote that you mentioned, in terms of if something's in your mind for a while, you can't let that just pass you by. And I think that's part of like the manifestation process as well, because everything starts with an idea in your head. And then the more you think about, and then you put a bit more thinking around it, and you're like, okay, well, to be able to move to Europe next year, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
I need to start saving some money. I need to start sussing out what jobs are there. And so you kind of put the stepping stones in place so you can actually then make that come true, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or you can just quit your job
Do it.
and just do it, which
Which is point number 3 for me.
There we go.
All right, because it was moving out was the best freaking thing that I ever did.
Yeah.
And I did that on a whim. Well, I was thinking about it for 2 years, but I come from like quite a traditional family. So like parents are like, you shouldn't move out until you're married, getting ready to marry. But I was just at a point in my life where I really needed a change. And I met my like old flatmate now. Just
shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Haley, my flatmate. Like she came at a point in my life where I really needed someone and also the moving out. It's just like the stars align, and moving out was the best thing that I ever did.
Oh, I loved the place that you guys were in. Like
I know.
that rooftop was to die for.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of Darlinghurst.
Yeah.
That
Harbour
that New Year's
views.
Eve party 2019 going 2020.
Yeah.
That was absolutely one of the best parties I've ever had.
agree.
It was
I agree.
so good.
Yoga on the rooftop as well.
yoga on my
Yeah.
rooftop. Yeah, we made a lot of memories, but we spent like 3.5 years there. But it was an end of an era by the end of it, and we
Yeah.
both knew we were ready to move on. But moving out was like I ummed and ahed about this a lot, considering my parents. But then I got to a point where I was like, nah, I'm just gonna do it. And honestly, it gave me so much control over my own time.
Yeah.
It made me really grow up. Like when you move out, you're freaking cleaning 24/7. If you're not doing your laundry, you're doing the dishes, or you're cleaning the house.
Yeah.
Like
It's your space, right? 'Cause
Exactly.
You want it to be your zen
Yeah.
space. So
Yeah.
it's not
If you want to learn about ownership and responsibility, you gotta move
Move
out.
out. Yeah.
100%. And like I learned how to use a dishwasher
Oh.
because my parents never used a dishwasher.
hand wash only.
Hand wash only. So I learned how to cook.
Yeah.
I learned how to be fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
I learned how to be considerate of someone else in a shared space.
Yeah.
And pretty much the management of my own time and the flexibility that was just a win.
Definitely moving out, but even one step further, because I lived by myself for the predominant of my the major parts of my 20s. But I would say like live with someone, like have a flatmate, a housemate. That was probably one of the only regrets I had from my 20s. I didn't have a housemate.
Yeah. But you recently had one.
Yeah. I recently did.
You did,
yes.
okay. She knows.
And I might have to have another housemate at some point if the interest rate keeps rising.
Oh my god, yeah, it's crazy, right?
But
Hey, I might move in with you when I'm back from
that would
Bali.
be, that would be awesome. We can actually, that would be so fun.
Go.
Yeah.
Only for 2 months.
That's
though.
fine. But
months.
that's the thing, though. Like, I only want like short-term housemates at the moment. But I would say that in your 20s, like definitely have that share house experience.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun.
I moved out really early on, like 22, 23.
Yeah.
I became independent really quickly. I haven't gone back home since. So the thought of living with my parents now, I know that would definitely drive me crazy, that's for sure. But I just love my own space now. And I've done the whole housemate thing as well for multiple years because it's just not affordable in Sydney, right?
Yeah.
And so when I actually had my own space for the first time, it's just little simple things that you really enjoy. Having your own space, coming home after a long day, putting your feet up, watching whatever junk TV show, reality TV show you want, having a glass of wine, whatever.
Walk around naked.
Walk around naked, all sorts, right? But
is that what I'm going to have to get used to?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. I'm going to have to buy a bath robe for everyone in the house.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's a good life learning, that's for sure, is moving out. Because you learn responsibilities.
Yes.
And also with that, like you have so many great parties as well, right, Jules?
Oh my God, I've had so many, like how many parties have I had? Like a gazillion. So anyway, I think that life is also behind me. So
But you're glad you did it.
I'm glad I did it. Yeah, it was definitely fun. Funnily, speaking of parties, one of my top tips for your 20s is definitely party as hard as you can, purely because when you get a little bit older, your energy levels are just not the same. Yeah. It really isn't.
I agree.
Yeah.
It takes you a longer period to recover from hangovers as opposed to, hey, I can party again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I cannot do that.
Yeah, in uni you can probably go like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday.
Excuse me, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Every
Friday.
day
I don't know
is a
about you,
party
like
day.
But like dancing in your freaking heels, I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
Like dancing in my freaking heels for like hours.
Now I just party in combat boots.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, how?
I used
like,
to sleep in the car as well.
standing. I had a house party last weekend and I was wearing heels for the first time dancing, and for some reason I woke up with the sorest foot. Yeah. I don't even know how. I did not fall. I did not do anything stupid. But
And you've got flat feet. That's like a thing as well. Like you can't stand all day. I've got flat feet too, and it hurts.
Is this a trend? Because I have flat feet too.
Oh, do you? We all have flat feet.
is that a 30s thing or is it just
You know what?
I developed flat feet actually. Okay,
Yeah.
tangent, but I actually
Okay.
developed flat
All
feet.
right.
So
You know what though? I have seen the videos where it's like grandmas at a rave. So you know, age doesn't stop you. Which,
No.
But we're just saying that when you're in your 20s, party as hard as you can because it'll just take longer to recover.
Yeah.
And I guess in terms of being consistent is probably one of the key things about how you take care of yourself in your 20s. Like if you don't work out, as an example, let's use fitness. If you don't work out in your 20s, it makes it so much harder doing so in your 30s. Even if it's small things like going for a walk every day or a run or Pilates, whatever floats your boat. If you just do a little bit of that every single day or a couple of times a day, it makes it a lot easier for your body to adapt.
Yeah.
As opposed to, it's too hard basket. Like, I gotta,
This is
go through the pain of.
so relatable for me. So Jules and Karen would know I had two pretty bad knee injuries in my 20s. So it was maybe like my 27 and 28. And then I had to have 2 ACL reconstructions. And before that, like I was kind of active and I was like both playing sports and things like that occasionally, but I never really thought seriously about my health and my fitness. And then because of my rehab and how painful it was, not just like physically, but also mentally for me, like not being able to do a lot of things, actually got me into fitness. And I did my like Cert 4 in personal training. And that, I think that was the turning point for me in terms of learning how to take care of my physical body, not just exercising, but nutrition. And now like, I'm so glad I have a baseline that even if I don't train for a couple of weeks because of whatever reason, I can go back really easily.
Yes.
And you have that, like, you know what to do.
Yeah.
You got that
in terms
muscle
of
memory,
exercise.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how to, like, do a squat properly, so you're not hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
that's
consistency.
probably the best investment I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Consistency is definitely key to building those good habits.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely saw that during COVID, where like no dieting or like fad diet or like fad workout will do the job as much as consistent working out or
It's your lifestyle now.
Yeah, it is my lifestyle. Thanks to my accountability buddies.
But just honing back on that is your body does change, and it's going to as you get older. If you can start to just ensure that you look after yourself, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever it is, it's going to help you in your 30s.
Yeah.
Right? So much more.
Kind of interesting dichotomy there, right? Because we're saying in your 20s, definitely take a lot of risks and have a lot of fun. But some things in life, you really want to set some really good foundations for. So fitness is one. We can talk about financials later as well. But I feel like, yes, you can have a lot of fun in your 20s. But if you can, lay out some foundation work for your future, and then from there you'll be set.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And wear sunscreen.
Yes. Oh, that is such a good. You know what? That is one of the best beauty tips my mom has ever given me. Sunscreen, and I started like in high school. I started wearing sunscreen in high school.
Also, shout out to our facialist Ross.
Yeah, Ross.
She's
a miracle worker.
She makes sure that we bathe in sunscreen. Every day.
Yeah.
And now, even if I'm at home, I'll still wear sunscreen because the UV can actually infiltrate through your window screens and things like
It
that.
should be part of your skincare. That's my thing. Is I wear sunscreen every day.
Yeah. Just to the point of looking after yourself. So point 5 was consistency is key. And the one piece of advice that someone gave me, a really good friend, was that, Karen, get your body in shape before you turn 30 because it gets a lot harder. And I think that kind of was a tipping point for me. And I was like, oh, damn.
It's true. I can attest to that. It is a lot harder.
Yeah.
I remember being in my 20s, being like a size 6. I could eat and drink whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Now I have to work out every day. Work it all off.
To maintain it. Yeah. Number 6 on the list is something that I haven't done but really, really wish I did. And that is taking a gap year. I really wish that I had the opportunity to very early on in my 20s to do this, but I didn't get the chance to. So my advice is that for those that are younger or even in your 20s still, that taking a gap year is okay. You're still very, very young. You're not losing time in a way, because during that gap year, the time you're using is investing in yourself to do what you want. So that could be moving overseas. That could be working at a job that you have always wanted to do. For me, I think I would have been a bartender. Like I would have loved to have done bartending. That is kind of one thing that I look back on and wish I did, because I've had opportunities in the last couple of years where I've had months off at a time in between jobs to do nothing. Well, not do nothing. Well, it was to do nothing because it happened during COVID. So I couldn't do anything.
Gardening leave without a garden.
Gardening leave with no gardening. So I read a lot instead. And worked out. So I got shredded.
Yeah.
But just the amount of time that I got, which was a month, to do what I wanted to do. So, for example, I worked out a lot. I read a lot. I built good habits that way, but also took the opportunity to do yoga teacher training. Just like how, Tina, you did like PT, right? I invested that time. And just imagine 1 year times 12. You get 12 months to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's
Travel the world.
Travel the world.
Although,
Exactly.
you know what? You can still do it in your 30s and probably with a bit more fun.
You can,
So.
but then there are more things to think about. Like if I have a pet, then who's going to look after my pet for a whole year, right? Yeah, or if
Mama
I have
Jules will.
yeah, or if I have a partner.
I guess more of a story is just do it when you have no responsibility,
100, yeah.
no dependency.
Yes, yeah.
It's just a time to do it. It's a lot easier to do it.
Yeah.
Especially if you need a mental break, it's always a good way to just go, okay, I need to just step away from the world.
Yeah.
Why do I sense there's a few sabbaticals coming up our way?
I would love a sabbatical.
I don't know if I can afford a sabbatical. I would love a sabbatical, but anyway. Okay, so my next tip, it's really around when you're in your 20s, you really have that opportunity to make whatever mistake you can, because when you do, learn from them later. And there are always going to be lessons that you'll learn in your 20s versus in your 30s, etc. anyway. But because you have less responsibility, less debt, just less care at that time where you're just young and thriving, there's so many things you can go and try. Like if I reflect back again, I was once upon a time a makeup artist. I studied interior architecture. I went and did one of those microblading tattoo courses and took like, a week and a half off work because I thought I want to run my own business and have my own little beauty shop. But then I decided it wasn't for me. So like test early so you can work out what you like and love doing.
And I think that also like you rebound faster when you're younger. And some of us are really privileged and have the safety net of our parents as well. So don't be afraid to just go and do and make mistakes.
The only thing I would add to that is, yes, like you definitely want to experience as much as you can, experiment with everything and fail fast. But then my advice, I guess, or one lesson that I learned from my 20s would be if you can find your niche, or you could find like an area where you can hone in on and create like a skill set or accumulate a lot of knowledge in that area, you can really capitalize on that later and make it your trade that you can turn into your career or turn into like how you make money. Because it's very important I feel like I'm very much generalist. But I wish that I had found maybe that path that I was going to be like specializing in.
PT.
Something like that, but like an area where I would just like obsess over and like build and be like the one person that knows the most about that area.
Sounds like you got to find your passion.
Like still finding it.
I would say that like that's definitely how I felt when I finished doing yoga teacher training, because I was like, if I get made redundant like tomorrow, I can just go and teach yoga. I wouldn't make a lot of money. But
you have to find it and you have to hold on to it, because it's very easy. Because I think what happened to us after our courses that we go back to our like day-to-day grind, right? But if you can find that one thing that you obsess over and build your expertise around it and be that one person that people will come to for that area or like that topic, that will be like your like weapon.
I agree, because I've actually seen just in my class some people have taken it and done amazing things, and they've been the ones that have been super passionate about it. But I will finish off this point by saying, don't be experimenting forever. All right, because you'll just be in a wheel of experimentation. You during the course of like learning and experimenting, find what you like, and then like
stick
Tina says, stick to it.
Isn't it just like the I guess like both the blessing and the curse of our generation? We just have so many options. Like if you look at Netflix, what do I watch tonight? And then you end up scrolling the whole time, and then you can't even settle on one thing to watch.
That was what you were watching.
and then you're also going dating apps and you swipe forever, and then you end up finding someone, go on a few days, like, oh, there's actually more people out there that can meet. So
it's that maximizer mindset.
That's a problem for sure. But anyway, to change it up a little bit, something fun. This is something that I love so much, but definitely cut your hair. Change the color. The best thing that I did in my 20s was actually to cut my hair really short. I had a bob at one point, and it was like the freaking best hairstyle I've ever had.
Yeah, you looked great. Can confirm.
Yeah, I might actually go back and do it again now.
Yeah, you would suit it.
But I guess it's just that in your 20s, like you're still definitely forming your identity, finding who you are. So just experiment with like your style, your hair, how you wear your makeup. So then that will define your identity and who you are. And then you find something that suits you. But I think for part of my 20s, I was very safe, and I was like, I just want to do like something simple with my hair. But then the moment I cut my hair short, it was like I had a whole different identity, like just have a different level of confidence.
Yeah.
It was just really fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like the one time like I dyed my hair like red and I
I
felt
actually remember
It was-
Do you
that.
remember
It
that?
was like it was like a copper rose.
It was a copper
Yeah.
red.
Yeah.
I felt like
She was fiery.
yeah, I was fire.
That was awesome,
And
actually.
also, and your bang as well.
Yeah, bangs.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting bangs. But I definitely felt the most me after hairstyle changes. But red is way too hard to maintain. Like I would go back to being red, but it's just too hard
Yeah.
and too expensive.
I was like an anime character. I literally, I had a hairdresser bestie, you know, in my younger days. So I had the Rihanna haircut where it was like shaved, asymmetric. It was
Oh,
shaved on one
wow.
side and then it was like long on
Fiery.
the other.
Yeah.
It was completely blonde. And then I went to platinum blonde and then I dyed it blue, purple, pink.
Oh my gosh, I want to see photos.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got
Yes.
photos. Yeah, because I did it during the time when I lived in the UK as well. And so, yeah, just do whatever you feel the vibe of. I mean, having
Yeah.
purple hair was something I loved. I even had a mullet once upon
Yeah.
a time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And don't fret a short haircut because your hair will always grow out.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just hair.
And I think that like all of that just really, if like because you're more in tune with your identity, you're more automatically more confident, and I think people around you can sense it too. Like your energy is just different. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I remember like when Tina cut her hair short, and I was like, wow, this really suits you.
Such
Yeah.
an icebreaker. People are like, oh, I love the short hair, or they'll go, oh, I love the purple hair,
Guys,
whatever.
I'm
They'll just say
like,
whatever.
you're really making me like want to go cut my hair again. It's like
Think about how convenient it'll be when you're surfing.
True.
Yeah.
True. So we're gonna take a bit of a shift now. So that's a wrap in terms of personal lessons learned. But we're going to shift into more career mode. And one of the things, as you heard earlier, that I learned was keep trying different things. And as Tina says, don't try forever. However, even in your 30s or in your 40s, you always hear about people shifting their career all the time,
Yeah.
or industries, because it really is never too late. And sometimes you don't want to do the same thing for 50 years. You want to change your lifestyle. You want to change the skills you're learning.
Yeah.
And so it is never too late is the tip there, is do whatever you think is your calling at the time. And sometimes your calling is only for 5 years or 10 years. And if you think, hey, the next skill is to become, maybe Tina decides to become a hairdresser because she's going to go cut her hair
That would
short.
be horrible.
Maybe she'll cut her own hair. Or our hair.
Oh,
we can have
dear.
a hairdresser in the
Be
group.
careful what you wish for.
Yeah, you're never too old. Definitely in your 20s. Like I get a lot of young, like early in careers. I don't want to leave like this company because like I'm not sure what's out there, and I'm like
The
you-
world is so much bigger.
The world
than
is
this
so
company.
big.
The
You
world is your oyster.
Yeah,
literally.
you were so young. You remind me of me 5 years ago, and this is what I would
Don't
tell.
fall into the trap.
Yeah, don't fall into the trap. This is what I would tell myself 5 years ago: is that go and do it, experiment. What is the worst can happen? You can go, do it. Maybe it's not what you imagined it to be, but hey, you tried. Like there is no longer that thought of like a what if. Like what if I had done this? Because you've already done it and you tried it. It might not have been as amazing as you thought it was.
Yeah.
But you can always go back to what you were doing before. But there's no longer that like thought around what would it have happened if
Yeah.
I had done this.
And we were just talking about this before we started recording, but one of our old colleagues,
yeah.
he was a long-term like veteran in the IT industry, and he got made redundant from his role. And you know, like he could have just taken a few months off and then go work at another IT tech company or you know whatever, but no, he decided to become a train driver assistant.
Yeah.
So he's learning to be a train driver.
That's amazing. And the other thing is also a lot of early in careers are, and I've been talking a lot about this topic recently, they're afraid of a redundancy. And I swear that a redundancy
the
is one of the best
yeah.
things that could ever happen to you. you might get a good payout, number one.
If you're there for long enough.
If you're there for long
Yeah.
enough. But number two, really just makes you not have that safety net and really think about what it is that you actually really want to do. Maybe being a train driver
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
way.
But
Or
I
a
definitely-
yoga teacher.
Or
we
yoga
def-
teacher.
I definitely
Yeah.
think that we definitely can have like a few careers within our lifetime. You know, like it's so. Yeah, sometimes when you're so involved in your day-to-day job, you're just like, oh my God, I don't know what else I'm going to do outside of this. But there's a whole world outside of your immediate bubble. But also on career, another lesson would be actions over words. And you kind of have to just make things happen.
Yeah.
And I think this applies not only to careers, but everything else in your life in general. Like, you know, if someone asks me what my superpower is, like I can very well say my superpower is that I actually take actions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say that, oh, like I really want to do this, I really want to do that. But there's no point in saying until you actually take an action or take the first step towards it, even if you fail.
Yeah, I agree. I'm of that mentality as well. It's like be like a doer, make it happen. Like you can talk forever. You're not going to speak it into existence.
Walk the walk, not talk the talk.
Yeah, like definitely. It's not going to just magically appear.
Yeah.
You have to actually do things to make it happen. And that can be like career. Like if you want a job, if you just sit here, that hiring manager is not gonna like come and waltzing through the door and be like, I want to hire you. You have to like make yourself known and like go and talk to them. Go and like show that you're interested. Similar to dating, you got to shoot your
Yeah.
shot, right? And like even something as simple as like getting fit. I'm gonna get abs this year. Okay, well, I want to see you book your class. I want to
Yeah.
see you hit the gym. I want to see you maybe sign up to a PT session or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
And
I get so annoyed at people who just say things and then they don't actually do
Do
it. They don't
anything.
follow
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Because what they end up doing is repeating the same thing over and over again, and then they don't actually do it. And it's like, dude, just go and do it. I've heard this 50 times.
yeah. And also for hobbies as well. Like this year, like I've been thinking about it for a while. Like I've always been fascinated by the arts, but I never actually studied any arts. Like I did a bit in high school, whatever, but it was not like something that I focused on. And then I just really wanted to learn how to draw. And so I signed up for like a drawing course, and man, like it sucks so much to not be good at something, but
It's hard.
it's a really good, like it's a really good way to help you with your like neuroplasticity as well, when you start like forging new pathways in your brain, and then eventually something clicks and I'm like, okay, well, it's bad, but it's not as bad as when I first started. You know, so that can apply to anything. Like if you want to pick up a new hobby, learn a new sport, you know, just have to give it a go.
I'm making myself completely accountable here, but I said to my partner the other day, I really want to learn guitar.
Ooh.
Because
We're gonna have to check in on this.
Yeah, because I've always, you know, like I've got a very musical family. My sister sings and
And you
plays
sing
a
well.
guitar.
You sing
My
amazing.
parents are in a band.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, okay, I'll just do vocals because like the rest instruments are too hard. But now I'm like, you know what? Why did I never learn an instrument? Why did I think it was too
Yeah.
hard? I can do this. Everyone else can do it.
Next thing you know, Jules going to quit her job, start a YouTube channel, doing guitar covers.
every
Tell
time we-
someone to come find me.
Yeah, every time we go to karaoke, it'll be a concert. It'll be Julie singing
Hang on,
and then
let
whipping
me-
out her guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be cathartic to learn
Yeah.
like an instrument.
All right. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to book in a lesson?
I'm just going to book a class because I don't want to buy a guitar.
Okay.
Because they're very expensive. My dad's got a Fender, so maybe I can just borrow his Fender or
Oh
whatever.
my goodness.
But I'm sure if I go back to Adelaide, I'll just steal it and he won't even know it's missing. But anyway, story for another day.
Don't
so
steal. Don't steal.
I'll
Ask.
keep you posted. I'll keep you posted to see
Yeah.
if I actually follow through.
So
now,
next time, if you hear like an intro with guitar instrumental,
might be me playing it. Oh my God.
actually Jules' own copyright.
Yeah, copyright it. Copyright it. So that wraps our first 10 points on 10 lessons I've learned from my 20s across personal and career.
We're saving all the best ones for last, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely are. Definitely. You've been listening to
Let's Take It Offline.